Welcome back to another week of Cooking with Them. Now last week I made a watermelon salad, which turned out pretty great, but I think we can do better. So this week I'm going to make a watermelon salad, but tweak it a little bit to play with the presentation. I'm on a journey to discover what goes into the food we eat, why it matters, and how we can use this knowledge to make our own cooking taste better. After being diagnosed with 17 food allergies, I'm determined to relearn how to cook, rethink how to eat, and reimagine what mealtime looks like. Now last week's watermelon salad turned out really great. The watermelon and the cucumber, balanced with the acid from some balsamic vinegar, made an excellent dish. So let's go over the ingredients again just to review what we have to work with. Of course, watermelon salad begins with some good watermelon. I also have some cucumber to add to the watermelon. Now this week, instead of baby spinach and arugula, we're actually going to use some Boston lettuce, which is a personal favorite of mine, and is a good substitute for butter lettuce. Unlike the bitter crunch that you might be associated with most lettuce, butter lettuce and Boston lettuce have more of a softer, delicate texture, more like butter. For the other green, I'm going to go with some traditional romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce is the backbone of many different salads and works as a very versatile green. I like using it to dress up different dishes, like I did with my beef hash and my taco salad. And we have some red onion again for the flavor. Personally, I like to use red onion because it has the best flavor when you're going to use it raw in something like salad. Have some minced, go with the watermelon and cucumber again. Some pecans, which are one of the few nuts that I'm actually allowed to have. I'm actually going to throw in some blackberries this time, which is a new addition from last week and something I was inspired to do by some photos I found on Pinterest. And of course the same balsamic vinaigrette from California Balsamic to use to top off the salad. Let's go ahead and prep our ingredients. So let's talk a little bit about presentation. Presentation is concerned with how you actually arrange the food on the plate as opposed to making the food itself. When cooking, we often refer to this presentation as plating. The idea is placing and arranging the food on the plate. Now the whole idea behind plating is to make the food look just as good as it tastes. A lot of restaurants have found that, believe it or not, how your food looks matters almost as much as how it tastes, even if you don't consciously realize it. If you're paying a lot for a fancy meal, you're going to expect that meal to look good. I usually try to do some basic plating techniques to make the food that I have look better. And you can see this through a couple of my past shots of dishes I've made on this channel. Everything from my beef hash to my taco salad to my crepes. I always try to do something to make the dish look a little bit nicer. Well, since we know this dish definitely works, we're going to take the time this week to work on arranging it to look nice. So with all that in mind, let's start preparing the salad. Now this time for the watermelon, we're going to cut it into two different sizes, some larger chunks and also some smaller chunks. And you've seen me cut watermelon a few times before, so we'll just blow straight through that. Now for the bigger chunks, I'm going to sculpt some squares out of it and rectangles to give us some interesting shapes to work with. So for our cucumber, I'm actually going to try something a little bit new. I see this frequently done in salads where they have these neat little strips, so I'm going to try and make some of those using a potato peeler. This seems to be a little bit too wide, so I think I'm going to have to cut the cucumber a little bit. Alright, let's see how this goes. That didn't exactly go as planned. That was a little better. Might have to get a bigger potato peeler. Cut the top off, see if we can make that a little bit easier. Now the problem here, these appear to be a little too thin, so let's see if I can make thicker ones with the knife. That's a lot better. Alright, I think I'm going to use the knife to make some more strips. I like how they have this cool little pattern from the seeds in the middle. also going to cut some spears out of the leftover cucumber, just again so we have some cool pieces to play with in our arrangement. So now we have some cool and interesting shapes to work with. We have our little paddles, flaps, I don't know what you would call this, strips, I guess, of cucumber, as well as some, these are called spears. All right, let's put these aside and keep going. Now for the onion, I actually decided to start with a whole one, and we'll get to why in just a second. One of the cool things about onions is they have all of these layers, which means you can easily make rings out of them. So I'm going to try to make a couple of rings as well as the chunks that we used last time, again just so that I have some options to play with. Nice thing about rings is you just cut off a single slice like that, and then you can just kind of pull away the outermost rings to get to the inner ones, which are generally going to be a little more usable. And now we'll go ahead and cut some chunks. All right, now we have a mix of big chunks to work with, as well as some of these little chopped bits. Put these aside and keep going. Now, one thing I do want to draw your attention to is all of these different bowls that I have around me. It's very important when plating to go ahead and make sure that you have all of your different pieces that you're going to be building your dish from available to you and easily accessible. I like to do this by putting them in different bowls. That way when I have my plate right here, I can just grab and pick whatever pieces I need to put them on the plate easily. And now for the mint. That was close. Now, just like last time, we're going to do some chiffonade cuts on the mint, but we're also going to leave some of the leaves whole as well, again to give us a little bit of variety to play with when we're arranging this salad. What I'm doing is looking for the better looking leaves. The better looking leaves I'm going to leave whole, and the ones that are maybe a little more folded or crunched up just a little bit are the ones I'm going to use to cut, because then you won't see those defects. Let's roll these up and do some chiffonades. Not entirely sure if do some chiffonades is right, but you know what? We're going with it. Got our nice little tufts of mint there. Now let's prep. Now let's prep these greens. So unlike last week, these greens are not pre-washed, which means I need to wash them myself. Now, usually when I do this, I'll just take the lettuce and run it under some water, give it a good rinse, rub it a little bit to scrub off any dirt that might be there, and then I'm done. Now, Boston lettuce and butter lettuce are a little bit different. They're actually very delicate leaves, and they're very easy to tear and break. So to prevent them from accidentally tearing or breaking, rather than running them under running water, I'm going to fill a bowl full of some cold water and then going to pull these leaves off, just like this. And then we're going to go ahead and place them into that bowl. Then once we have a pile of them in the bowl, we can stick our hand in and kind of swirl them around a bit to gently get any dirt off of them. All right, let's go grab the salad spinner. Salad spinner is one of those tools that I went without for the longest time, and I have no idea why. It makes this so much easier. Now notice that I'm actually pulling the lettuce out of the water rather than dumping the water out and then taking the lettuce from the bowl. The reason for this is because the dirt actually collects on the bottom of the water. It's heavy like sand or gravel. And so if you pour the water out, then the dirt is gonna go all over your greens again that you just got it off of. Whereas if I pull the greens out of the water, the dirt stays on the bottom, the greens come out of the water, then I can dump the water and dirt out together. Give this a good spin. The goal is to get as much water off of the greens as possible because water and oil don't mix, and most salad dressings contain oil. So if you have wet greens, you try to put some salad dressing on them, the dressing is just going to run off. Now our Let's roll these up and do some chiffonades. Not entirely sure if do some chiffonades is right, but you know what? We're going with it. Now let's put